Daily stock market update on the 12th of March, and bombing in the Middle East continues. Imagine you've got a sister living there and they're hitting residential buildings. How would you feel? Well, that's the position I'm in at the moment. I will try and keep it unemotional. So, crude oil futures up 4.79%. We're at 91.43. There is some talk of going to 150, going to 200. I don't think, I think the Americans will surrender before the Iranians do if oil gets to $200. And that's what the Iranians are banking on. The 1973 oil crisis is the weapon that they've got, and a load of cheap drones. So we've got to look at what does this mean for our portfolios. That's the actual focus for us here. Stock 600 flat, S&P 500 futures are fairly flat. The market's taking it pretty well. I think what the market knows, or the put floor on the market at the moment, is that they think Trump will chicken out and therefore bring some restoration of peace. So that's positive for the market. Now, unfortunately, there's been some talk of interest rate rises because of higher inflation. I hope central banks don't go down that route. The higher inflation is due to an economic shock. It is not due to excess demand, due to money supply. And because it's not demand-led, but is actually supply-led, my understanding, or my view of economics, is raising interest rates would actually be the worst possible thing you could do, but it would be worse for the stock markets as well. So the actual sensible thing to do would be to reduce interest rates, as Donald Trump's been saying. The stock market will fall, and I think in the near term it'll fall 5% in the next week or two, will fall if interest rates are expected to rise. Okay. Now we've seen with the bond yield markets, and we'll come to that in a second, which affect how interest rates for mortgages are set. Those are already rising. So the work of the central banks to some extent is done, because people getting new mortgages are having to pay more money anyway. Okay. Thanks to the bond market. Now, 5 things you need to know. The Iranians have escalated the attacks, certainly in parts of Dubai and shipping assets. Now, here's the important thing. A whole bunch of oil has been released, I think 400 million barrels. That's the global demand for 4 days. Only 20% of global demand goes through the Straits of Hormuz. So in many ways, it is not the reality of the oil problem in the Middle East. It is the perception which is worrying people. Oil has rallied, topped $100 a barrel again, and global stocks, of course, retreated as a result. It is perception and momentum which is moving things. Trump has said there's been a massive release of emergency oil reserves, but as I've said, those massive ones are not actually that big in the bigger scale of things. We're trying to beat perception, change expectations. That's how modern economics works, as well as modern politics. It is about perceptions. If you can make people feel calmer about the Middle East, and there's more oil, and the petrol pump prices drop a bit, then people's consumer confidence increases. People are more likely to invest. If there's more uncertainty, the companies are less likely to invest, and individuals are less likely to consume. So another call for lower interest rates. Like I said, in my experience, central bankers and chancellors tend not to be the brightest people in economics, surprisingly, and so they tend to do the exact opposite of what they should do. We know this because John Maynard Keynes pointed that out, because central banks and policymakers used to, in times of recession, cut spending, and he pointed out they were supposed to do the exact bloody opposite. Yeah, and that wasn't too long ago he had to point that out to them. I think less than a century ago. So, war and deficits. Where are we on long-dated US bond yields? You might think, long-dated US bond yields, Alpesh? Well, this is what's going to affect your mortgage, and that's what's going to affect the stock market and where money goes. They're increasing. So they're at now just under 4.9%. Well, quite frankly, they were at those levels in January anyway. So to some extent, not much of a panic. It's actually quite good potentially for the stock market if people would just take a breath, because what it means is if money if the economy is not overheating, which clearly it isn't because of this uncertainty and because of greater mortgage costs, then it means that there's less need to cut interest rate. There's less need to raise interest rates because the economy is not overheating due to higher inflation. So that is perversely better for the stock market. It's just that the market can sometimes take a bit of time to realize that. So we've got to be careful not to panic. Do I expect a 5% drop in the next 5 to 10 days? Yeah, probably, but I'm not trading it. Do I expect a 14% drop at some point this year? Yeah. Do I expect an up year in the S&P 500, for instance? Yes. Do I expect gold to continue higher by the end of the year from where it is? Yes. Do I expect oil by the end of the year to be at closer to $60, $70 again? Yes. Do I expect the technology companies that I've invested in, the banking companies to invest in, to continue making profits exceed expectations? Yes. Do I expect them not to be punished should they miss earnings expectations because of what's happening in the Middle East, because it'll be seen as a short-term blip? Yes. Stocks on the move. Bumble has risen 28% after some AI-powered assistant designed to act as a personal matchmaker they've launched. 28% seems a bit excessive, but given how much that stock price has dropped and they've completely lost their way, not so great. Firefly Aerospace is up 9.2%. It's launched its Alpha rocket into orbit. Well done, you guys. Netscope tumbles 16% after cybersecurity company forecasts a wider than expected loss. Generally, cybersecurity is doing well. Anybody saying that they're not meeting expectations are going to get punished. You can expect them to drop 15 to 20%, and that is not necessarily a buy the dip opportunity either, per se. So be careful. Dick's Sporting Goods and Dollar General are set to report earnings before the market opens, and Adobe and Lennar are due after market close. So what's happening with software? Let's look at the iShares Expanded Tech Software Sector Exchange Traded Fund. It's dropped from $120 in October all the way down to $80. That's a massive drop. And this is because of the fear. I was talking to a co-founder of a hedge fund, or dear friend of mine, just a moment ago, and he was talking about how junior software developers are absolutely screwed, but there'll be more software being created by AI. So presumably greater productivity, greater profitability for companies because there'll be a demand for it. It just means lower employment for software engineers unless they're more senior. Now, that's not necessarily bad for the tech software sector because it means their wage costs decrease. However, what's been happening is the market's been spooked because it's saying, well, surely, I don't know, Goldman Sachs will do this in-house and won't use others because they've got AI. It doesn't work like that. It just means that the agencies that they're using will find it more difficult to justify higher costs, but they'll still be able to get away with it for a while. The people in demand will be the ones who are more senior and can get AI to do the work, but can then check to see this is what's wanted, this is what's needed. That's still valuable. So when I asked my friend to create some technology for me, I asked him his rate because I still want him to check everything. I can get more done than I've been able to before, and I don't need the programmers to do it. I'll get him and 2 or 3 of his programmers to do it using AI, but it gets done. There's more work. There's more profitability for him. It just means he doesn't need to use as many people as he would have had to. And basically, think of it this way. I've given him work, which otherwise I would not have given were it more difficult to do. So there should be more trade thanks to AI, certainly in software. So I think somewhat oversold, though I'm not going to, on this particular ETF, iShares Expanded Tech Software Sector, I'm not saying go out and buy it, just saying I think the issue is not as clear cut as people seem to think. Okay, that's the daily update for now. What I want to do, however, is have a look at the news items, which I was just doing on CNBC, and where are we on some of these? So I'm seeing red across the board pre-market. It's still an hour before the US market opens. The biggest analyst calls today are NVIDIA, Apple, Micron, Netflix, Delta, JP Morgan as well. And there's a bunch of upgrades from Wells Fargo. They've double upgraded oil and gas stocks because, for obvious reasons. Now, a lot of these are going to be short-term plays, so I'm not necessarily sector rotating into oil and gas. Gold hasn't moved. despite this conflict. Maybe because people are a bit tired. What's interesting, it hasn't fallen either. Dow futures are down some 400 points, and that's because of oil price fall. So expect quite a few companies getting whacked on the back of this noise. Like I said, a 5% drop in the S&P 500 is what I expect over the next 5 to 10 days. Oracle is up 10%, greater profitability as well. Fair Isaac's taking a bit of a hit yesterday. Remember, I told you. So there are some good quality companies which are dropping, but they're not buys just because the price has dropped. They'd have to be buys because they're quality companies to begin with. Okay, that's where we are on the news items for the moment and the major things. I guess the clear message is brace for impact, but don't panic if you've got quality companies. If you haven't, you should panic now. And if you're trading, you should generally be panicked because it's incredibly volatile. So it'd be a silly thing to be doing right now anyway, unless you're incredibly skilled. Thank you very much.